Bienvenidos a todos y feliz año nuevo. This is New Year's Day 2026. And honestly, I was going to take the day off and not do much of anything. It's a work holiday. However, such is the 5 Tango, what it is to be in midlife. And I've had actually a few things go on, but this is the one that I was caught off guard with. Can't say I necessarily saw it coming. The contract that I've worked on for years on Christmas Eve, it was they let us know that a new company won that contract award. And then yesterday on New Year's Eve, found out that most of us are not going to be picked back up. So, for us, most of us have seen people reach certain stages in their professional careers, and they get a little top heavy with their earnings, and companies come in and they do RIFs, right? Restructures, RIFs, reductions in force, and people get let go. And sometimes people decide at this age, 51 for me, that they're ready for a career change. I've worked in the contracting game since I was 20. So for the better part, give or take a few years, of 30 years. And now I have to decide what I'm going to do. Job security is no longer there. And I do have options, but this was a video that I hadn't even thought about when I was like, oh, if I go Tango, there's all these things, all these questions I have for myself that others must have the same questions. So I wanted to do this channel to put, my spin on what those challenges are. Then I also wanted to, if you saw the last video, travel and, doing the trip to Seattle and to Bedford, PA, like that was all fun. And, I wanted to do videos in there like that, just to sort of, inspire and bring some joy. And then this bomb got dropped. So we'll see. But now there is inspiration for me to do a video on the midlife career change, something I had not even considered. So I did this while, I was still feeling sort of the raw emotion of finding out that, wow, for the first time in basically 30 years, that you don't have the same job security that you've always had. So this is about the mindset of changing careers and midlife, and changing how you are approaching these final years until you reach that retirement age. So let's talk about it. Let's see what we can find out. It is roughly 8 a.m. on the 6th day of January 2026. Today is my first official day of being out of work. I received the final notice yesterday from the new company, the contractor that was awarded the contract that I had been working on. And in essence, they said, no thanks, we don't have a role for you on this contract. So for the first time since 2001, I'm out of a full-time job. So here I am, still in my robe, but that's not an indicator of anything negative. It is that I didn't need to get up, get signed on, and move forward with my day, as I had been a contractor for all of those years, for countless years. With that being said, I am 51 years old and I will be applying for unemployment until something else comes along. Why record this? Well, first of all, it's still a little raw. I'm not overly concerned that this is the worst thing to happen. I genuinely feel like I have my health and I have my family, and as long as I have that, I will be able to sobrevivir. I will survive, and there's just going to be a lifestyle change. I do have a part-time job that I've worked for 9 years that will help supplement and keep us afloat, and my wife has a job, so it's just going to be a lifestyle change. But the reason I wanted to make this, when I started the 5-0 Tango, I wasn't thinking, oh, and by the way, when you hit specific age, you're looking at a potential midlife career change. I'm not saying I never thought about it, but it wasn't something that I thought was going to be in the cards. It wasn't going to be a reality. What's the expression? Oh, it'll never happen to you. Yeah. It happened to me and about 30 other people on my contract. So yesterday was a lightheartedly sad day. Most of us were tongue-in-cheek and trying to make the best of the rough news that most of us were not being retained for another 5 years. I do have a few coals in the fire, some things that I'm working on, but ultimately, I'm going to try to make a wholesale career change. The idea is to find something. Obviously, I'm not going to earn the salary that I once had as a contractor, but I had a good run, and I was preparing for this day. If you saw the video that I did about my dad, my father's passings, and about Dia de los Muertos, and the first ofrenda that I had made, it was about dealing with grief. It was a Gen Xer's way of dealing with grief and the loss of my dad. But one of the gifts my dad gave me before he passed, he was nonverbal because he had Alzheimer's dementia, but at the moment of his passing, and maybe I'll talk about this in a future video, I felt it. I felt his words. And what they said to me was, it goes fast. Stop making excuses and do the things you want to do. And it resonated with me, so I started really focusing on things. And I made the decision at that point that I'm not going to work into my late 60s like my dad did, where there's no guarantee that I'll have my health when I'm 67 years old. He's been gone 8 years now, almost 8 years. So let's say for 7 years, I got really, really focused and aggressive in planning for a future that did not involve me being handcuffed to a job. That did not. I put things in place knowing that I had it pretty good with the job that I had, the benefits that I had, the income I was earning. And so I was planning for a future where I did not have to have that job. So this layoff, this termination of contract, or my role on that contract, came earlier than I was planning, but I had been looking at 55. Realistically, 57 was my decision point. But there's this thing called the rule of 55, where if you leave your company, you can withdraw your retirement savings without the 10% penalty from the IRS. So I had been planning as if that may be a real possibility, understanding I was working in the contracting space, and your job is, like most jobs, it's at will employment, but it's
year to year. You get a 5-year contract, and every year, as long as you're performing, they pick up that option year and you keep working. So I knew that. And to quote my wife when I told her that I was not being retained on the current contract, her words were, "We gambled and won for 25 years or more. We'll deal with this." And so that's where I'm at. This is my first morning of not having a full-time job. I am working on a career change. I am pursuing some things that will keep the lights on, and some things that will keep me in the right mental space, la salud mental, my mental health. It's really important to where I'm at this stage in my life and where I want to go. So this is a really long, I didn't mean for it to be a dissertation. I really just wanted to kind of capture the spirit and the change and the emotion. And when I remember being in college and knowing that people that went to work for a company, a large company, and stayed with that organization for 20, 25 years. So they start work for a company when they're 25, 26 years old. Then they get into their 50s and they become victims of RIF, right? Reductions in force. And the only reason they become victims of RIF is because they reach a specific salary range where the company determines, oh, we can hire another 26-year-old to do your job, maybe not as well as you, but they can do your job for a lot less money, and they would bring them up to speed eventually. That still reigns true. I was not insulated from that completely. Again, I am blessed because as far as I know, I have my health and I have my family, and I had worked hard enough and tried to be thoughtful enough and look enough into the future that I prepared for that time. I just can't access any retirement funds yet without penalty, so I've got to make this work for another 4 years at a minimum. But by having that part-time job and having the education that I have and the experience that I have some things I can do, and that's what I'm going to work towards. So this is 10 minutes of me just kind of talking about what's going through my head, but I'm 51 years old. I'm dancing my tango, and I was thrown a wild card, and so now the dance hasn't changed, only the rhythm of the music, and I will find my rhythm.
All right. Jumped out of my PJs, gotta get on, right? Nothing changes, still got to focus and get that work in. So heading down to the basement, getting that lift in. Let's stay strong. Let's keep dancing the dance.
Are you feeling the fire?
So it kind of feels like the rug has been pulled out from underneath of you. But as you can see here, the numbers suggest otherwise. 58% of Gen Xers leave our roles earlier than we planned. And I'd say I'm pretty much in the unplanned category right now. And it also shows that the search is longer for 50 somethings, 26 weeks on average. And it also hits a little harder on our mental health because it causes an identity disruption. However, the good news is people who choose to voluntarily make this change, make this pivot, they report a higher satisfaction and even a 7.4% average wage increase. That's not bad. But you'll also see that there is a surge in new business owners of those of us that are in our second act, our Gen X years, golden years. So you can view this as a crisis, and it certainly is a challenge, but I prefer to look at it as an opportunity to grow and improve. And it's the perfect setup for my tango, my dance. Quién sabe qué sigue, pero let's find out.
I had this video all wrapped up, all outroed, ready to edit and get posted. And then mid-Atlantic snowstorm of January 2026 hit. And it really got me to thinking how appropriate it is for this change in season for me. The snow causes disruption, slows things down, and can be dangerous for some folks, depending on where you are and what you get. However, it also makes me think of the Bette Midler, Conway Twitty song from the 80s, The Rose. As the chorus goes, just remember, in the winter, far beneath the bitter snow, lies the seed that with the sun's love in the spring becomes the rose. Look at how pure and beautiful the untouched snow is as it falls in my yard, mountains which you can't see behind me, but there's peace there, there's purity there. And for me, and for many like me that are 50 years old and experiencing a career change, there's opportunity. And for that, that's my tango. I have found and accepted a new job and a new career. There's a lot of questions, but just like the snow behind me, it's pure, untouched, and ready to be explored. That's my tango.